Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live. Thank you very much for being here. If I'm a little bit more overexposed than normal, it's because I have a lot of lighting. Well, obviously, we've got the top-down cam ready for the unboxing of the O4 Pro unit next to me, which is exciting. But yes, there's a little bit more light on me than usual. So yes, a little bit overexposed. So today we're going to be taking a closer look at what is the new exciting launch for DJI. The FPV product that we've been trailing in the run-up to the show with the thumbnail, etc., and the title. I think everybody pretty much knew what it probably was, but it is, of course, the DJI O4 Air Unit series, so the Air4 Air Unit Pro and the Standard. Now, many have been calling the Standard the Light. We'll be calling it the Air Unit tonight, and Air Unit Pro, just as the so you know which ones we're actually talking about. We have the Pro unit in hand, and as I say, we're going to be unboxing it on camera live, as well as discussing the specs and pricing. During all of this, we will be joined by the main man of all things FPV. And I know he won't like being built up in any way, shape or form. I can see him already making faces. And that is Ian from MadTech, who has kindly agreed to join us for this show. I mean, he must have hit his head just before I asked him or something, because he agreed. So he turned up as well, which is wonderful. So if you've got any questions, please tag at Geeksvana in the chat. It does help us be able to see them a little bit more clearly. It comes up as a nice yellow thing on my screen, so I can see that you actually have a question, and we'll try to answer them as we go on. First up, let's take a look at the launch video from DJI, and then we'll return and have a chat with Ian about this exciting new product. Or is it exciting? We'll find out, won't we?
This is the brand new DJI.
Well, we can go home then, can't we? We've just found everything out, so that's that done. Okay, thanks for joining us on Geeksvana Live. See you next time. It's Ian. Ian, how are you?
I'm very good. Recovering after a bit of a fit earlier with a hammer, but yeah, not doing too bad.
If you want to know why Ian's got a hammer out next to his FPV gear, go and check his channel out after the show, because there's a rather interesting video that he's put up. I have to say, it shocked even me, actually. It was quite surprising. But
I have learned I really do need to stop doing the things I think are a good idea on impulse, because I thought of that about 15 seconds before doing it.
I can always tell.
It's literally I'm tempted to do something, and it almost ended up, and I told you this on the chat, I almost put a 30-second video up of a potato. Just as a potato. I was just gonna walk in, pick it up, eat it, and walk off. And then I thought about, wouldn't it be funny to break an ear unit?
Yes.
It's not a working one. I'm gonna say that here for the people who are shocked and disgusted at my YouTuber behavior. It was already a broken one. Sorry to lift the veil. It wasn't a working one.
These millionaire YouTubers smashing up O3 units. It's terrible, frankly. It's terrible. But yes, but thank you for being here to share your expertise. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
It's good to hear your thoughts on this, and it's obviously it feels like it's been a long time coming, because I think the leaks were out on this one quite early, weren't they? Really, we've been hearing about it for a long time.
Yeah, we have, and like you've got two sets of sort of leaks as well. You've got the stuff behind the scenes, and Sean will know what I mean by this. And there are things you get told, and I've even said this on my live stream before. There are stuff I know that I can't always tell people.
Absolutely.
There is stuff I know that I can tell people, and that isn't because you want to hold secrets back, but sometimes someone will say something to you and say, can you not say anything? And you're not breaking the trust with the company. You break the trust with them, and they'll never tell you anything again. So we have, we've known about the existence of O4 from pre-Avata 2.
Wow.
It's that far back it goes, because the development was very much forked. They went one way with one and one way with another. But it's incredible how long that's taken to get to now.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, and actually, you talk about those conversations, and it's always interesting, because there's a point where I go quiet, where obviously I've had something delivered, and I think you can almost probably guess when I get something delivered, because then I can't talk about that thing anymore. But yeah, it's always fun and games with everybody that talks to each other within the creator community. Sort of the sort of what do you know and what you don't know, and what can I say and what can't I say type thing. It's always good fun, but
and it always goes right back, because if we think back, we've got 3 products actually here. Actually, it's 4 products really, but it was Avata 2 and Neo.
Yep.
We knew about that, and then there was then there was O4, which we were like watching. And I actually do wonder if DJI paused development on this to concentrate on some other stuff just because of the timescales involved. And I even wonder if they went back to the drawing board, because what we've got today, I'm not convinced that's what they would have started with, if you get my drift. You know, I think we've got two products, which is, again, not what we expected originally. We've got the standard, the Pro, and you've got one which is somewhat a direct replacement for 03. I think it's fair to say the Pro is in every way better. And it is.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
There's one thing you could say which isn't better, and that's the camera mount. Other than that, it is in every way better. And then you got something new.
Yes. Which
is what I refer to as the light, but the 04, which is the standard. And that is the new bit that we have today.
Indeed. And this is a little rundown in terms of some of the main sort of KPIs in terms of the differences between the air unit. And obviously you've got 10 versus 15 kilometers in range. 1080p at 100 frames a second for the air unit, whereas the Pro obviously handles that as well, but it's also got the 4K at 120 and it's 4K at 60 for the air unit. Half-inch sensor for the air unit, and a 1/1.3 for the Pro. And then of course it's that 8.2 grams is pretty impressive with the air unit, isn't it? The standard air unit. I think that's quite impressive, and obviously a very nice field of view and decent compatibility. Actually, we often see, and I know it's something that you often say to people when they actually get any new product, be it one of the camera drones or whatever, and it isn't compatible with so many other things. And I know on your shows you always say, hang on a minute, because it probably will be compatible soon. But this has come out the door fairly with a fairly broad compatibility in terms of most people that have been updating their things and fly 03 probably have gear that will work with this, don't they, really?
Yeah, and actually, and here's a miracle for me, I can't complain. There's actually nothing here for me to complain about. Compatibility wise, good.
Yeah.
All fine. Okay, there are goggles that don't work, which is the V2s. But bear in mind, they launched in 19.
They did, but people do love those V2s, don't they? And you know, if you're into it is one of those things where some people haven't held off upgrading because they, price or anything else like that. It's because they actually really love the goggles.
It is a good goggle. Yeah, it's for sure. And okay, but I can forgive them for that. And there are technical reasons why they may not want to do it. And so, okay, there are technical reasons why they can do it, but I think you have to be fair. And I think 4 sets of compatible goggles, so Goggles 2 and Integra get compatibility, which we didn't even have that backwards compatibility when 03 launched. It took some time for that to happen. So it's good that they've done that. And then if you want the best goggle for it, it's the Goggle 3, without any doubt. That's the full feature set. It is the best goggle DJI have ever made. It is the best goggle today.
Yeah.
It is genuinely, from a fitment perspective, from a performance perspective, hands down.
From a newbie perspective like mine as well, it's the easiest way to get into things as well, and it's obviously the quality, the diopters. The N3, I was quite excited about the N3 in terms of the fact that you could wear your glasses in them, but I started missing having that real precise focus as a glasses wearer that I have in the Goggles 3. Fairly quickly, more than I thought I would, in terms of having to not take my glasses off when I bring my or put my glasses on when I raise my goggles. So yeah, I
actually think they made a mistake with the N3. I think they went too budget. Honestly, I think they could have kept diopter and focus, put a bit more on the cost. No one likes to pay more. No. But it would have been a better product for doing it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I wonder if there's different marketplaces as well in terms of regions of the world that where cost is purely the only an underlie, which is, I would say, probably the case with the N3. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Cheap. That's
it almost feels like the N3 were obviously they are a budget goggle, so they shouldn't be as advanced as the Goggles 3, but they do feel like they're almost pre V2 almost, don't they? Sort of like in terms of, if you laid them out and said, right, when did these come out? That's kind of where you feel the development for those is. But
what I'd have actually done if I was DJI is I would have made a V3 based on the V2 chassis. I wouldn't have I'd have kept the development cost to a minimum. So keep the same shell, keep the same optics, keep the same displays, retain the 144 hertz displays, and just shove in the newer chipset and almost do it as a like you get a mild refresh on a car, don't you? You know, when it's not a new car. It's that, I'll be honest. I think they redesigned the goggle. It's a good design, but I don't think they needed to do it. I think they could have done it, but it is a great budget option. It's the cheapest DJI goggle available today, and it's not bad. It's not as good as the Goggle 3, but if you've never used a set of FPV goggles and you've got reasonably good eyesight, you will probably be absolutely fine with them.
Yeah, exactly. Right, pricing. We want to keep the tempo up on this one. On this show, so that it doesn't drag on too long, because obviously people have seen this, and a lot of people joining us are some very loyal people in the chat. Thank you for being here, I really appreciate it. But we want to push through this information. So pricing wise, this again across the Facebook groups and online, etc., I'm seeing a lot of positivity in terms of the Air unit being 99, and obviously the Pro is 209, but there is a real differential there in terms of course physically what you get. There is of course a differential, but also having the parts prices straight away with the 3-in-1 cable at 9, Pro antenna at 19, the module of course, and the camera, the expensive parts. So it's good that the parts prices are out there straight away as well, and there's obviously that there seems to be good availability as well. Now, the DJI Hasselblad have actually, via the link in the description, they've put out a couple of bundles. Now, one thing to mention on the affiliate link before I forget, the links in the description are affiliate links, but at Geeksvana, we actually donate all of our commission from DJI Hasselblad partnership to charity, which is actually chosen by our channel members. And we've actually got details next week of the first check being handed out. We're actually thinking of getting a big comedy check for it, actually, but I'm not sure if I want to waste that much printing card. It's sort of like giving to charity and then printing something on a big card.
And then printing something that costs loads of money.
It you know, it doesn't quite add up, does it, as it were? But those combos obviously very much reflect the Pro and the Lite from the point of view of getting the Goggles 3 and I've actually called them both the same thing there, but the one on the left is the Pro bundle, which is the Goggles 3, obviously the Pro unit, the remote controller 3, and 128 gig card for 877, or again, you know, 450 for goggles, remote controller, Air unit, and a card. It's not, you know, there is a big gap in the pricing, and I know there's obviously a big gap in terms of the hardware, but I'm quite impressed, and I'm seeing a lot of positivity and a lot of people across the group saying orders in already type thing. I think that's it's a good buzz at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, the pricing's good. You know, I think the Pro is decent priced. In many ways, it's a bit less than 03, depending on where you purchase. It's action camera, cheap action camera money. So, you know, it's a good money for that. The Lite is the standard is really where the you know, 100, I think it's 110 with the camera all in, isn't it? The bundle. That is on par now with Cadex and HD0, which is the other brands. And what DJI have just done is jumped right into a market they've never been in before. Because whilst we've had light ear units from DJI, you know, you could strip the 04 down, you could strip the Vista down. We've never had a single board. We've never had, you know, it is sub 10 grams without the little plastic piece. So if you take the plastic piece off the camera, it's below
8.2 grams. It's incredible, isn't it? Really, it's really phenomenal. Right, let's get up to the very quickly. Thank you, Gimbal Air, for the super chat. Keep up the good work, fellas. Content has been first class of late. He's obviously talking about your channel. He can't possibly be talking about Geeksvana there. Right, should we get on and unbox this? This is exciting.
Yeah, let's have a look, because I haven't seen one.
No, indeed.
Either, so
we've got the little box, which is very cute and cool. I'm going to tear this off there. It's one of those unboxings because it's obviously quite a small product. It doesn't take that long. I don't think we're going to see many separate unboxing videos for this particular product, are we really? But
no.
But yes. Okay.
You need to do an ASMR one of it.
Oh no, don't. I actually did an ASMR unboxing as a comedy thing when my channel was new, and people thought I was being serious. So yeah, whoops. Never try and judge how people will take something. And there we are. There we have it. Here is the unit. So we have the camera module here, and you may feel like that you recognise it from somewhere.
Yeah.
And in fact, the ND filters from the Avata 2 do actually fit.
They actually go on
They
as well.
do.
That's handy to know.
Yes. Now you were mentioning about the
mount.
the mount, and I understand that Chris Rosser is creating a solution for that as well. To will that be so that it can obviously plug and play with an O3?
It's for his
frame,
frames,
basically.
he's got options, and look, I think you're going to see some brackets. I'm looking forward to doing a teardown of the camera to understand why they've done this, because it's not a traditional spacing, and that's where the complexity comes. And what it means is you could use it single screw top or single screw bottom, but you're moving the camera up or down in the frame a lot more than we're used to doing.
Yes.
So the chances, it is a massive sensor in that Pro camera. I don't think people quite realize how big half-inch is. If you look at half-inch versus 1/1.3 or 1/1.2, like we've seen in the past, it is enormous.
Yes,
it is a massive sensor.
That's the difference in the sensors here. These are the Pro and the Air unit sensors, and yeah, I agree. It's a chunky sensor. It has to be said. It's there is very much differential in terms of for the buck, isn't there? Really, it's not one of those sort of finites of trying to see where the extra money has gone, and it's definitely that extra sensor is very nice, frankly. I mean, obviously it's needed, and you're really looking at very different audiences here from the point of view that obviously it's your Pro is obviously going to be the cinematic-y type thing, and then your Air for everything else, really, your whoops and your FPV feed. And of course we have the new race mode, which we're not talking about too much this evening, only from the point of view that we haven't tested it, we don't know too much about it, but I know a lot of people that are very, very excited about it, frankly, which is cool.
It's going to help with compatibility using it with other systems for starters, but it's also interesting because they've been able to bring the latency down as well. So, and I think race mode is going to be quite interesting in the sense of there's probably a lot more to race mode behind the scenes than there is for the user. The user is fairly simple. It aligns to race band channels and it puts it into 1080p and it has lower latency. I think the back end workings of that will be quite interesting to have a look at.
Yes, exactly. Now, pulling up some of the spec bits in terms of the two units, obviously, as I was saying, the 1080-100 on the 04, the 15 milliseconds, 60 Mbps, all seems, very nice. And obviously with the Pro unit, you've got the 155-inch ultra wide field of view, 4K 120. It's not bad, 4K 120, 10-bit D-Log and color mode. Now, there is also actually, because obviously when you put it into D-Log, you're going to have a very bland looking system, basically. And I don't know if this works in all of the goggles, but it does in Goggles 3. You can actually, there is a setting and it essentially applies a color grade to the goggles only. I quite like that touch. I think that's quite cool, isn't it? It's a bit of a different thing.
It's a nice touch that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously it has, well, not obviously, it does have canvas mode, which I think is obviously, it's kind of becoming the norm, isn't it? In terms of, if you want your system to succeed, it really, you need to be able to play around with the OSD. So it does support canvas mode and Betaflight OSD settings, which I think is, which is awesome. And here we have the weights and the dimensions. Obviously we know the dimensions extremely well from Mad's previous shows. The Air Unit Pro, the camera module included is 32 grams, and then camera module included for the Air Unit is 8.2. I mean, that is just incredible, frankly. I think that's so light. Yeah. I know we've said that before tonight already, but I'm so impressed by it.
Yeah, they've been able to really get that board down. I always said, and I'm shocked I haven't had to eat something over this, is that it'll be very hard for DJI to get this all on a single board, yet they've done it.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, the teardown is going to be fantastic. And are we going to get that as soon as you get your unit through?
Yeah. So I've placed orders today, 2 of each. So I've ordered because I have to have a set for bench testing.
Yes.
and I have a set for actual testing. So ordered 2 of each today. They will be here, all being well, tomorrow. We have had a bit of a sneak peek of inside already. I have seen someone's sort of popped the lid and closed it,
nice.
but all being well, I will probably do a live stream proper teardown tomorrow. You know, if I do it, I always say I'm not taking it apart and look what happened to the Avata 2.
Yeah. But we like
then the
we
Neo.
like the high stakes mad tech. Let's tear it down. Those are the words. And after about 45 minutes of your live streams of the new product, you can see it popping up in the chat. Tear down? Question mark? Tear down? Possible?
Yeah. So we might do one tomorrow night, all being well, on Friday. It won't be a long video. I say that it shouldn't.
3 hours later,
you know, the teardown of the standard will take about.
Yes.
Well, I'll unbox it. That's the teardown
exactly.
of the standard.
So in terms of, as it says, finding the right one for you, I thought this table was quite good in terms of a comparison. So it's the 1/1.3 versus the 1/2 inch, 12 megapixel on both. Obviously, the Pro, as you would expect, has more video resolution, 4K 60, 4K 120. 4K 60 still isn't bad for the O4 Air unit, but in terms of latency and how people are used to flying, am I right in thinking people will use that in a lower resolution to get the 100 frames?
Yeah, there are some people who have said, okay, why can't I do 120? The truth is, 1080p, it'll do 100. 100 frames modes will be the lowest latency for both air units. So whatever resolution, just 100 frames a second. 1080p 100 for recording. This, if you think about this in a 1S, 2S whoop, do you really need 4K?
Yeah.
Most people are flying whoops with.
It's incredible when you just say that, isn't it? Sort of, you think about this in a 1S.
Yeah.
It's a pretty crazy product, frankly. It's.
I'm not uncomfortable with the limitation.
Yeah.
That, you know, that again, I said earlier, there's very little to complain about here. There are a few people who would have liked it because they would like to use the big one, the little one in a bigger aircraft.
Yes.
Just to keep the weight down. But we'll tear the big one down for that.
Indeed, exactly. So you've got a 117.6 over 155 field of view, again, very much as you'd expect, with no D-log on the air unit, again, perfectly allowable. 15 millisecond lowest video transmission latency, 20 millisecond on the air, and the 1510K there again, and 60 Mbps on both in terms of bit rate. And built-in storage, you've got 4 gig on the Pro and 23 gig on the Air. That's a decent amount of onboard memory on the Air unit, actually. As it says here, this one supports micro SD card expansion, and the Air does not support micro SD card expansion. So again, it really is the differences you'd expect between a not a standard product, but the Air unit and then a Pro product, isn't it? In my opinion, there's nothing too shocking there.
No, about the only little strange limitation is the increased latency, and it isn't clear if that's down to the board or is it down to the camera, because they're not the same cameras as well. So, and from a hardware perspective, the boards are very similar.
Yeah,
very
on the video transmission, on the full spec readout that we had through, the Pro is on the right here. The latency, obviously, in terms of the race mode, is giving you 1080 100, lowest 15, lowest 20.
15 versus 20, So you're gaining 5 milliseconds, but it is a different camera sensor, so that has an impact. So it's more like the camera in the Neo on standard. And the easiest way for people to think about these, if you want to understand what they're like, the standard is the Neo, and the Pro is the Avata 2.
Yes.
And that's in essence what you've got here.
No, exactly. Popping over to the chat very quickly, one thing that I've actually just seen at the corner of one of our channel members, Dan the Drone Man, good to see you. Just read about the N3. Seems it has a nicer screen, but they're basically the same as the Goggles 3. So compatibility, yes, they are compatible. Although if you wind back to the beginning, you hear us talking about the goggles, and I would say the Goggles 3 are a BMW as opposed to the N3 are the sort of Vauxhall type of in terms of, just overall the N3, there's nothing wrong with them, and for the price, in my opinion, they're very, very good. Obviously, as a FPV light user myself, I think they're a great goggle. But the Goggles 3 really is that high end product in terms of quality, and I do see a lot of difference there.
There's a lot of difference in the screens, so you've got to take into account the N3 is a single LCD panel. The Goggles 3 is dual OLED panels, with full focus, full IPD adjustment. There is the other big difference is that the Goggles N3 can only do 60 frames a second, 60 hertz. So whilst they will do 100 recording, the latency is higher.
Now, so Paul from Still City Drone Pilot is asking about 25 frames. I believe there is 50 frames on the Pro, I think.
There is 50. There's definitely 50 on the Pro.
I don't think there's 25, but I was watching Potato Jet earlier, actually, who is, apart from Ian's videos, is the #1 video that I will run to. And yes, looking at the specs.
50's on the spec.
Spec sheet 50's here. Yeah, at 4K, 30, 50, and 60. It's across all of them on, is that on both?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if DJI added 25 later. 25's a funny one for, look, in Europe we like it. Look, 25 or 30 shouldn't exist anymore. The truth is, in a digital world, NTSC versus PAL is what we're really talking about here. It shouldn't matter. Where it matters is if you're flying indoor and lighting. So if you're flying outdoors, it doesn't matter. But if you're flying indoors, you need the 50 frames a second so you get the mains light in synchronization. Otherwise, you get flickering on the lighting. So that's the big issue.
Somebody asking if the we pressed the wrong button there. There we go. If the lens is plastic like the O3.
Well, the O3 isn't plastic, so I'd expect it to be glass. And having smashed an O3,
it's glass.
Least front is glass. Yeah, and I believe this
most definitely glass. Yeah. I was going to say I didn't know whether the O3 was plastic, but I wouldn't call myself an expert enough to say that. But yeah,
no,
it is glass. I know you can't tell that from necessarily from that particular look, but it is glass. I have to say the build quality feels good. The module, etc., which is very close to your early pic. Do you remember the early picture you did of this?
Yes.
So this is very
similar.
If you don't watch Ian's channel as well, I mean, why on earth are you here? But actually, if you don't watch Ian's channel, you have to go back and watch all of his other every single live stream to get to know all the little jokes that I'm telling.
My drawing was quite accurate.
Your drawing was very accurate with all the ridges and everything, with all the everything for the cooling and everything. Very good.
Someone might have said
that was a long time ago.
Somewhere.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and that was one of the 3D prints.
That's
it. So yes.
So yeah, so it's a good product. I think that it's something that it's interesting from the point of view that now that you have people like myself getting more and more into FPV, and the quality of these types of things are just leaping forward. I've never had to have an analog view out of my goggles. I'm a bit sort of spoiled from that point of view. And yeah, I think it's an exciting time for FPV from that point of view. How do you think this product impacts things like the existing products on the market, like Walk Snail? Because you were saying earlier that obviously the O4, the Air unit itself, kind of starts to trample into that marketplace.
Yeah.
In terms of, obviously you haven't tested anything yet, you haven't put anything on the bench or of course flown anything with one on yet. But specs wise, do you think this is going to compete heavily then with Walk Snail?
Yeah, I think DJI had left a gap. It's absolutely the case that DJI had left a gap, and that gap had got filled by Avatar HD, and that gap was smaller, lighter Air units, lots of camera choices. Now, DJI is never going to give everyone everything they want, and what I mean by that is they're never going to let you have 10 different camera choices. They're never going to give you this, but what they've now got is 2 products that bridge the gaps. Now, you can use one of these in pretty much everything. And you couldn't easily do that before. Does it mean, is it a big problem for the other brands? They've got a decent user base, but DJI is the gorilla in the room. I've always said this, this. It is going to be the year of DJI, and they are already so far ahead. The bits, they've taken away the one thing the others had to compete on, if you get my meaning, and that was weight.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is now the problem for them. this is now the issue. And they're now left in this position of, well, what do they have? Before they could go, well, we can go light and small.
Yeah, 8.2 grams. It's just, as you say, it does become the gorilla in the room. You're one of the only people that uses that particular description, actually. Whenever you say it on the channel, it always makes me giggle. But yes, it really is the right description for the Air unit, frankly. I mean, the Air Unit Pro, I think, is what everybody probably expected. But for this, I think it's something special. Thank you very much for Droning Vision for the gifting 5 memberships, and well done to James, Risa, Oh My God, Charles Rector, PT Puff FPV, and Gary Henderson for getting those gifted memberships. Now, it might be, if you're here, that you're actually that you are FPV users, and now you're new members. You can go and watch my last video for members, which was actually my first, and I did it, Ian, my first FPV bando. I still don't feel cool enough to use the word bando. But I feel like slightly uncomfortable. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm too old and too camera droney to go, I've been to a bando, yo.
But as long as if you didn't get arrested, you're not doing it properly. Just remember that. So we'll chase that.
Yeah, no comment, no comment. Well, I went there with Paul, who's in the chat from Still City Drone Pilot, and it was fantastic. And I tell you what, with all the complaining about the hobby, with all of the issues and the worries that we've got, and that obviously we talk about heavily online, it was great to meet up with a group of people who were just enjoying the hobby. And one thing you've got to say about FPV crowds is that they absolutely adore the hobby. You know, the fact that they will turn up with 3 or 4 quads, and if they go home with 1 working, they're okay. You know, it's a different atmosphere, it's a different attitude. And we're even watching I think it was a 10-inch. Paul, you can tell me if you're still there.
That's a big quad for a bando.
Well, it was trying to do a power loop through a gap, and boy did it crash. But you know, just the commitment, frankly, to try and sacrifice that particular one. So if you haven't seen Ian for some reason, there is a link in the description. If you want anything to do with FPV. Anywhere, I was about to say it's certainly in the UK, but obviously these products are international. Then if you haven't heard of him, as I say, why are you here? But also, lucky you. Lucky you. I always say that when people say that about my channel. Oh, I've just found you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry,
I'm so sorry that happened to you. But do go and have a look at his shows, and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because he will send you weird 1-minute videos with hammers that you've all got to go and have a watch, and as well as very interesting longer shows. Now, of the wonderful group of people that are here, could you all hit the like button before we leave? And I also want to remind everybody that tomorrow we've got a very special live stream, which is going to be starting a series of live shows on a bit of an expose with regards to the UK CAA. It's probably our most controversial video to date, and I've had some controversial videos on the channel over the last few months, especially, and certainly the series is going to hopefully raise some eyebrows and hopefully get some action taken. So join us tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. for that one. The link will be going up in the morning, so you can hit the reminder button. But as I say, go across and into the description. You've got the affiliate links there for all of these wonderful products. The commission goes to charity, so if you want to do it that way, fantastic. You'll be able to watch a live teardown. You can tell I'm being really careful with this, can't you? I'm sort of being quite ginger and being quite.
I'd at least dropped it at least twice by now. It would have been.
Well, this 04 unit is quaking. It seems to be shaking slightly, and it passed me a note over saying he's nervous to be this close,
especially you with the hammer. So
this close to Mads Tech and not being teared down.
It's been quite the week, because you know, we've had 04, haven't we? And then a few days ago we had the
Matrice 4. Yep, yesterday. In fact,
what a machine! What a machine!
It is mind blowing. Some of the things that are coming out at the moment, and obviously we've got another launch next week, which nobody could possibly know what that launch could possibly be. We've got another one next week, and it just feels like every week almost we're getting something cool coming out of DJI at the moment. And you know, just
but if you look at these two in it, look, 04 is evolutionary. Okay, it's there's a lot of nice here, nice evolutionary. You look at that Matrice 4, the thermal, that there is nothing. There is no one.
No.
There is. It's
do you,
so
do you
far
feel like
ahead.
that was a Skydio hold my beer type of moment?
Yeah.
Where they've basically a bit like, I kind of feel like that was Bugatti's Veyron from the point of view that they've put every and yes, it doesn't look particularly exciting. It obviously looks very familiar to other drones in the range, but they tech wise, AI wise, and that type of thing. I don't like using those two letters, but actually the AI on this drone is impressive, and it is. Yeah, it's something I feel like they've almost done a bit of a Veyron from the point of view of they've kind of proven what they can do at that level. Of course, use case is obviously somewhat stifled in the US at the moment, but everywhere else I can see that being extremely popular.
But you think of it from a people search and rescue perspective. You've got a Mavic 3 size, got a 640 thermal camera. You've got the 3 optical cameras with the zoom lens. Is it 3 with the optical zoom lenses?
I believe so. Yes.
I think it's 3 opticals with the zoom lenses, and then you got the laser rangefinder. This couldn't have existed 3 years ago in a platform of that size. If you could stick that in your pocket, and that thing will fly for what 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can have 3 batteries. And I remember you had a lot of people talking about the lost dog stuff, and so that is incredible capability.
In such a short space of time, we've gone from the M300 for police drones, etc., where you're having to remember to click all the arms out, and we even had crashes where arms weren't clicked out, etc., to then suddenly the M30, which seems a completely revolutionary thing, and it's still an amazing machine, but of course it's coming to the end of its production life. And now the Matrice 4, the M4, it's just incredible. I think it's 1,218 grams on its main takeoff mass on the main model, which is just nothing, is it? When you compare to what you used to have to lift that kind of tech, only a year, 2 years maybe ago. It is incredible, frankly. You go any more behind that, and that would have been a highly specialized drone. So yes, it's pretty incredible. We will be featuring the Matrice 4 in the future on the channel. Just obviously we've got a lot going on at the moment, and also in terms of they're a very highly specialized item. So it's one of those ones where you go along and borrow, I think, rather than people saying, hey,
it don't turn up and you get to keep it.
That's it. Could you imagine?
Yeah, you've got to disappear for that to happen, haven't you?
Geeksvana roof surveys suddenly props up, and Geeksvana search and rescue. Yeah, no, indeed. But thank you. I look forward to the unboxing and the teardown as and when it happens live. It's always exciting to watch them live as well. As someone that puts on live shows, I always appreciate it in other content creators. And we'll see you soon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
No issues at all. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I'm really looking forward to that one. Bye-bye. Oi, you lot, hit the like button, please. I did say, you made me come back from the credits to remind you to hit the like button on the way out. So could you please do it? And also, Still CC Drone Pilot's already crying about it in the chat. I didn't say Sean out. I'm sorry. So Sean out. There you go. Just for you, Paul.